The body of an infant child was discovered on a sandy beach near Cahersiveen in County Kerry. The body was in a plastic bag and had suffered multiple stab wounds.
A newborn baby boy has been found dead near Cahersiveen in County Kerry.
Of course, the question is, who killed this baby on the beach?
On April 14th, 1984, a newborn baby boy was discovered dead on White Strand Beach in Cahersiveen, County Kerry, southwest Ireland, with 28 knife wounds. Who murdered the child? Could it be because of societal shame and disgrace? With authorities monitoring all nearby maternity hospitals for information, can they find the Book of Chronicles to unravel this mystery? Keep watching till the end to find out what happens in this thrilling case of the baby on the beach, history of Cahersiveen town. Cahersiveen is one of Ireland's westernmost towns, with a population of roughly 1,200 people. It has remained primarily a market town and has never completely reaped the benefits of tourism, making it one of the most original towns on the Ring of Kerry. The 179-kilometer round Ring of Kerry is a picturesque journey that offers views of the untamed coastal region and sleepy seaside towns in southwest Ireland, the inhuman tradition of pregnant young women. Ireland created a commission in 2015 to deliver a comprehensive report on the mistreatment of women and children who were in these religious institutions. These testimony, from 1922 to 1998, reveal religious orders' violence towards pregnant young mothers and their infants' blatant neglect because they believed the children were immoral and should be punished. Do you ever wonder what became of the young girls and women who avoided the system?
Saying if unmarried mothers are being accommodated in the workhouses, then they need to be separated from all the other people because they are morally contagious. She is the one that has to be hidden now.
Before we continue, please help us by subscribing to our channel, Unsolved Files, where we bring you exciting criminal cases. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on this video for more updates. How baby John was found and named. A local farmer was out for a jog on Saturday, April 14th, 1984. Did you ever try to picture a farmer jogging in the 1980s or even in the present day? I don't think I've ever witnessed something like that, unless there were lambs or cows in front of them. Jack Griffin, the farmer, was an avid runner. He had just pulled over to see how some cattle were doing when he saw what at first glance appeared to be a doll, but it turned out to be a newborn with a mop of dark hair. After rushing to his brother-in-law's residence, Jack dialed the Gardaí. Tom Curran, the undertaker, arrived shortly after. In the end, Tom used water from a nearby brook to baptize the little boy, giving him the name John, possibly in honor of his loving uncle. When the state pathologist arrived there, baby John was taken for a post-mortem examination. He was discovered in a trash bag, nude, and between the rocks. He had been stabbed 28 times in the front of his torso, and this was the reason for his death. Because he was discovered on Saturday night, baby John would not be buried until Monday. He was only 5 days old. As a result, Tom stayed with baby John the entire time, carried him back to the funeral home to be ready for burial because he had no one else and didn't want him to be alone. Tom arranged for his 15-year-old daughter Catherine and the other schoolchildren to attend the burial on Monday. Who was Joanne Hayes? Joanne Hayes gave birth on the family farm at Abbey-Dorney, County Kerry, the night before baby John was discovered 80 kilometers from Cahersiveen. Joanne Hayes lived with her mother, 2 brothers, Mike and Ned, and her sister Kathleen. After giving birth to a tiny baby she called Shane, Joanne found herself alone in the hayshed. Regretfully, the infant did not survive the delivery. Not even her relatives were aware that she was pregnant or had given birth. Joanne hid baby Shane on the farm the following day. At the age of 24, Joanne Hayes raised her daughter Yvonne alone. Joanne had been dating a married man named Jeremiah Locke, who was also the father of Shane, the recently deceased infant, and who was also Yvonne's father. This is a family who supported Joanne and her daughter, ensuring that Joanne did not end up in an institution or have her daughter placed for adoption. They were a close-knit family that did not let social pressures or criticism to stand in the way of Joanne's ability to be a mother to her daughter in the safety of the family home. As soon as the post-mortem results for baby John were made public, the Dublin murder squad was called.
Quiet news day. Nothing much happens on the Sunday, at that time anyway. So the phone rang and I knew straight away there was something up because you'd rarely get a phone call to do with work on a Sunday.
Superintendent John Courtney oversaw 6 members of the murder squad, including detectives Garter P.J. Brown and Sergeant Jerry O'Carroll, 2 specialized interrogators. Nonetheless, authorities monitored all nearby maternity hospitals for information of recent pregnancies and listened for any whispers or talk. The squad asked the young girls if they knew of any older girls who were out and about with married men, or if any of them knew of anyone who had recently given birth or was secretly pregnant. The young woman, Joanne Hayes, was reported to the murder squad. She had recently been admitted to the hospital following a miscarriage, but the medical staff thought she had carried her pregnancy to term. Joanne and her family were now the target of suspicion right away. An incorrect misinterpretation of murder case. Courtney described how baby John died during a case conference at the Garda station and superintendent in Charlie, the major town in Kerry. He falsely claimed that baby John had many stab wounds to the back. Investigators were called to the Hayes family farm on Tuesday, May 1st, and the family was brought in for questioning while additional investigators were sent to Joanne's place of work. They separated them all into investigation rooms, and P.J. Brown and Jerry O'Carl were assigned to interview Joanne. Joanne endured a 12-hour interrogation without any breaks or meals, during which she was verbally and physically assaulted. They pounded their fists on tables, and Joanne even reported that P.J. Brown had twice smacked her across the face as O'Carl looked on. Ned and Mike received identical treatment: a kick to the kidneys, a fall to the ground, and restraints with the detectives' knee on their backs and their heads pushed back. They were informed that until they signed the statements, they would not be allowed to leave.
They told me they were going to put Mommy in charge with murder as well and put my little girl into an orphanage.
They threatened to have Joanne's daughter adopted, her mother prosecuted with murder, and the property auctioned if she refused to sign the statement. They all caved and signed the phony confessions after being beaten and threatened. Recall that this family came from a distant area of Ireland, had no legal issues, led a modest agricultural lifestyle, most likely only received a basic education, and were unaware of their legal rights. And it was the 1980s, so of course, aggressive interviewing methods were standard procedure. The family claimed that the physical, emotional, and verbal abuse was something different. The investigators concluded that the family was guilty, even though everyone had told the truth. Joanne believed that the reason she was being brought in for questioning was because the guardian had discovered her baby on the farm. Joanne said to the police that she had given birth on the 13th of April outside on the farm, and that she discovered the baby had passed away when it stopped crying. Fearing the worst, she spent the night in the hay barn with him. The following morning, she had covertly hidden the child on the property. The cops claimed that Joanne was baby John's mother, a claim Joanne angrily rejected. Superintendent Courtney refused to allow her to show the investigators where the baby was on the farm in order to disprove her claim that she is not John's mother. Unfounded complaints against Joanne. Throughout the day, the guardian went over the farm multiple times but was unable to locate the infant. After hours of hard questioning, Joanne eventually gives up and acknowledges that she is the mother of baby John. She then signs a statement that the police had prepared, to which Joanne has added a few details of hers to it. She claimed to have killed him by stabbing him in the back and beating him with a bat brush. Baby John was not stabbed in the back, despite what Courtney had said to the detectives. Joanne was accused of killing baby John after the other members of the family signed the fake confessions. The other members of the family were accused of hiding the birth, while they allowed to leave. Joanne was the only one who wasn't permitted to return home the next morning at roughly 1 in the morning. She was taken to the cells and held there until later on Wednesday, May 2nd, when she was scheduled to appear in trial district court and face formal charges of murder. As Joanne waited in one of the courthouse's consultation rooms, a young lawyer, Pat, was approached and asked to go speak with her. When he got to her, Joanne was crying, and the family was distraught. This was a country agricultural family, and appearing in court was very foreign to them. They told the council that they were held in the station for hours, were assaulted, verbally and physically abused, and intimidated, and that they only signed the statements to get out. Mistaken identities of dead babies. The confessions the Hayes family made served as the only foundation for the charges brought against them. Everything changes as Joanne is able to send a message to Kathleen, her sister. Joanne had told Kathleen where the infant was on the farm, Kathleen told the solicitor. After the family went to the farm, they contacted the solicitor, who notified the guardian after they discovered what they believed to be baby Shane in the ditch. When the guardian saw the infant, they were given the shock of their life and realized immediately that they had made a mistake. However, acknowledging your error and owning up to it are two whole different things, and everyone would go farther down the rabbit hole as a result of this. Upon investigation following his recovery, baby Shane's blood grouping was found to be entirely distinct from that of baby John. Superintendent Courtney and his associates now face a serious issue. Given that the infant discovered on the property shared Joanne's blood group, it is extremely unlikely that she is the mother of baby John, the child she admittedly killed in her statement. In order to come up with a fresh explanation, the detectives considered the alternative idea that John and infant Shane were twins, but had different fathers. They stated that there is a 1 in a million possibility that Joanne discharged 2 eggs that month, had sex with 2 separate men, and became pregnant. It is evident that Joanne cannot be the mother of baby John, since Superintendent Courtney is unable to locate an expert witness to support this novel notion. However, they developed a new notion about a third baby, rather than giving up on the case. They said that Joanne was indeed the mother of twins, with the firstborn outside on the farm and the secondborn in bed a few hours later. 4 days later, the story of the Carey babies and the family, who admitted to a crime that they could not have committed based on scientific proof, is revealed by the Sunday Independent, an Irish newspaper. Ireland's citizens questioned how this could have occurred, and Joanne and her family later accused some officers of assaults, force, and bullying. The issue hits national news. The detectives vehemently deny any mistreatment, and an investigation into these claims is launched right once. However, this is another instance of Guardian examining Gardaí, rather than an impartial probe. The government moves swiftly, establishing the Carey Babies Tribunal, which got underway on January 7, 1985. The tribunal's duties included investigating the Guardi's behavior and the manner in which an entire family may confess to a crime they did not commit. The Hayes family was essentially just witnesses to the events, which is how things should have gone, but that's not how it actually happened. It turned into a full-fledged witch hunt. Joanne testified on the 8th day of the hearing, spending an unprecedented 5 days in the witness box. Questions regarding her relationship with Jeremiah, the father of her daughter and infant Shane, were asked over and over. Over the course of 5 days, she was questioned more than 2,000 times in a room full of males, where misogyny was the norm at the time. At the period, women's morality was a matter of great concern in small-town Catholic Ireland. Joanne was questioned about her history of dating, her method of contraception, the details of her menstrual cycle, the size of her clothes, her sex life, and other personal matters. All of this took place in a public environment in a room full of men. Why do you think Joanne was going out with a married man? And why did she allow intimacy to take place between both of them? The tribunal case or witch hunt. Joanne and her family shared a wide spectrum of human feelings with the tribunal. Witness breakdowns, sex, and love were all present. Joanne requested breaks, but none were provided. Judge Lynch, however, refused to comply with the requests, stating that if we broke now, we would break every 5 minutes. At one point, Joanne became so agitated from the questioning that she needed to be given a sedative in order to continue testifying. It was a tribunal designed to create a show out of a young woman, not to address any misconduct on the part of the Gardaí. They were planning to punish her in one way or another, since they thought she had loose morals and had 2 children outside of marriage with a married man. It was utterly awful, and they were positive she would be made a show of if they couldn't charge her with anything. In the witness box, one journalist described Joanne as being torn like a rag doll. Of course, the fact that Joanne was a heartbroken mother and had truly lost a baby was also overlooked in all of this. Through his attorney, Superintendent Courtney presented the tribunal with several invented theories. The Guardian believed that the accusations made against them were baseless and unacceptable, and they would battle hard to prove that the accusations were false. Why is it so remarkable that people backed her? Was it because she had children outside of marriage, or because she had a relationship with the married man? I believe that the noble people of Ireland were finally taking action to end the perception and treatment of women as second-class citizens because they were tired of the nation's leaders' duplicity. In addition to being accused of murder, Joanne's family was also dubbed liars. According to Judge Lynch, the family lied through their teeth, which essentially cleared the guards. When infant John was discovered, the special death squad that had been dispatched to Karzai Bean was considered an invaluable tool in the war against subversives. The unit was chosen at random from across the entire nation, making it extremely unique. Jerry O'Carroll and P.J. Brown were among these interrogators. They lacked the modern instruments and forensic knowledge and proficiency. Convictions relied heavily on interrogations and confessions because DNA technology was still in its infancy. Jerry O'Carroll admitted that the 48-hour interrogation wasn't a sympathy trip. Rather, it was a face-to-face confessional process. Nevertheless, the team as a whole was dissolved following the Carey Babies case. One former judge claimed that guardians around the nation were tired of this team entering, taking control, and breaking the regulations. In the instance of the Carey baby, this was very evident. They were essentially a law unto themselves, and it was game over for them from there. Joanne Hayes wrote a book titled My Story, which led to Jerry O'Carl and P.J. Brown suing her years after the Carrie babies tribunal ended. They each received £17,500 in a public apology as part of an out-of-court settlement over claims that she had used defamatory language against them in the book. Untold, truth finally revealed. After more than 30 years, Guardi and the state eventually issued an apology and admitted their mistakes in the case in 2018. It was established by the Guardi's own forensic evidence that Joanne was not John's mother. After 36 years of waiting, the tribunal's conclusions were ultimately reversed in 2020 when Joanne's attorney was able to obtain a high court ruling that the Hayes family's fundamental rights had been violated and that no fault had been established against them. Joanne eventually obtained a €1.5 million award, while Kathleen, Ned, and Mike each earned a €100,000 award for their false arrest and charges of concealing the birth of a child. In addition, Yvonne, Joanne's daughter, earned €100,000, and the Hayes family received a public apology from the Justice Minister and Senior Guardian. Following the agreement on the High Court order denouncing the tribunal report, the order was forwarded to the Dolls Library and included in the Carrie Babies Tribunal report, nullifying it. The gravestone was hit by a sledgehammer in 2004, which may indicate that the locals were involved in infant John's murder. The fact that this was not the first time the grave had been desecrated could provide some insight into the identity of the person responsible for infant John's death. He was excavated in recent years, new DNA was taken, and the same day, new flowers were placed on his grave. Through a combination of traditional labor and cutting-edge database technology, they were able to obtain a complete DNA profile. To find baby John's mother or father, and possibly his killer, the Guardians are making every effort. As stated by the superintendent, the investigation team is fully dedicated to uncovering the truth about the circumstances surrounding infant John's murder. Indeed, this is an unsolved case as baby John's killers are still out there. But do you know there is a thrilling story more pathetic than this? Watch this video, the battle between a serial killer and a protective father vertical bar, the case of Tiffany Shore. See you in the next video.